everybody. Welcome to another Full Compass Full Access webinar where we give you access to the industry experts and the gear and the technology and the subjects you want to hear about. My name is Jim Ripp. I'm the Director of Education here at Full Compass Systems. And I'm going to get just a few housekeeping things before we start the webinar, or actually get into the meat of the webinar here, and while people are logging in. We do have a recording of the webinar that will be available. So if you have to duck out partway through, feel free to do that. That you will get a copy of that or a link to that. Also, we have a question feature for you to type in your questions. Ask us questions anytime throughout the webinar. We try to keep as many as we can till the end, but if it's important enough, we'll jump right in and ask the questions. So today we'll be talking about the Shure MicroFlex ecosystem, all the gear that's involved in that system. And we brought an industry expert, one of my favorite guys of all time, from AudioBiz. Let me introduce Shawn McLaughlin, everybody.
Thanks for having me.
It's good to have you again.
Yes.
It's been a while since we've had a webinar.
It has been. Times have changed a little bit. Now we can do it in person.
Yes.
So
we got a little bit different setup here, which is cool, relaxed setup. So,
yes.
Shawn, before we get started, you want to talk a little bit about how long you've been dealing with the MicroFlex personally yourself?
Yeah,
You've got a long history with it.
I do. I've been around since the launch of it. Been selling it for. I need to look at my slide later on. I can't remember the year. So, but yeah, it's been fun. I've been working for AudioBiz. We're the Shure rep for you guys, and the MXA product is something new for you guys. So I'm really excited to be able to talk to your customers about the product.
Awesome. So without any further ado, let's dig right in. I'm going to lean back and take a sip out of my coffee and
definitely
let you take it away.
So yeah, what we're going to do, we're going to just kind of give you a good overview of what the MXA series has to offer, a little bit of history about it, and kind of some of the different setups that happen with it, and where to use the microphones. And then we are going to be doing some additional series with you that I'm looking forward to kind of get into a little bit more of some of the other features and stuff. So.
Yes, thanks for the reminder. This is part one of a 3-part series, everybody. So we have part 2 and part 3 coming up. We'll talk about that a little bit later at the end of the webinar as to what those will entail. But
let's take it away. So I recently did this with the sales staff. We kind of went through the MXA. So MXA launched in 2016. So this is our MicroFlex Advanced series of microphones. So it's a new series of microphones that kind of incorporates and focuses more on the conferencing space. We've had the regular MicroFlex series that had been around for a very long time. A lot of those are lapel microphones or desktop microphones, things like that. So the MXA is kind of the advanced series with a lot of new features. So this series was launched back in 2016. Originally started with 2 different products, the MXA 910, which was a ceiling array, and then the MXA 310, which was a table array. So in 2019, as you can see on the little timeline up here, there was some software updates to what happened in the 910s. We added IntelliMix. So this was a DSP functionality right in the microphone. And then we also added a feature called autofocus, which basically allowed the microphone to adjust its coverage based on where you were in the room. So the little leaners, that are moving around at the table, the movers can be still picked up. So 2
great features.
Yeah. And in 2020, the interesting year of 2020, we launched the 710, the MXA 710, which was another microphone array to the series that was a linear microphone array. So we'll dive into a lot more of the features here, but kind of jumping up into more recent times. Last year, actually 2022, we came out with the next generation of the ceiling microphone array, the MXA 920. So this added some new different technologies, easier setup, some different things like that. And then the newest one, and I actually didn't even notice this, but I don't have one on the timeline. We have one that released in 24 here recently, just a couple weeks ago. So in 2023, we released the MXA 902, which was an all-in-one microphone ceiling array. So it also had a speaker built in for those medium-sized conference rooms to be able to cover those spaces with more of an all-in-one unit. And the one that's not on there, like I just said, was released at ISE, so a couple weeks ago, maybe about a month ago, the MXA 901. So the family keeps on growing, and the technology keeps on growing. So
Sweet. With the times we have now, after what we went through with the pandemic and everything, conferencing is everywhere,
yes.
right? It's the wanting to get that high quality conferencing.
Yeah, definitely. And it's kind of a changing space. Before 2020, there was a lot more larger conference rooms. Now, as people are coming back to the offices and stuff, there's been a little bit of a change to kind of more of the medium-sized rooms or huddle spaces. So the cool thing with the MXA, we've got kind of stuff to cover pretty much all of the different scenarios. So yeah, let's dive in. We'll talk
All
about the
right.
MXA 310. So this was the table array that we were talking about. We can see on the next slide here. So this one comes in a couple different colors. One thing that's going to be constant throughout all of these microphones is they use Dante as the backbone for the audio transport, which is, if you're not familiar, it's a digital audio transport that is in a lot of different gear. Audinate is the company behind that, so it's a pretty universal thing. But all of the backbone of all of the MXA products is that Dante network.
So we have Shawn, we have a quick poll. Can we get that poll to go up there, the Dante poll? It would be interesting to find out, our listeners here, what your familiarity is with Dante as well. So
it's definitely a good one. It's been around for a while, but it's kind of one of the standards, that is around. So, well, I'll be curious to see what the poll has to say. So
we're gonna find out.
Yeah. So back to the table array. So what obviously you can see it comes in a couple different colors here: black, white, and aluminum or aluminium.
Aluminium
for the British people out there. It's got this very unique multicolor LED ring around there that can indicate your mute status and things like that, and also can also show you where pickup coverage is aimed when you're aiming your different lobes and coverage areas. So it also has a very cool, you can see a little hard to see over here, but there's little mute buttons that you can touch the outside. It's a capacitive kind of touch the outside ring of the mic to be able to mute it. And this is also something, depending on how you've got it hooked up to your computer, can do mute sync with your with Zoom or whatever, and mute actually the software. So it's very unique there. So the very cool thing about the MXA 310 is you've got the ability to have multiple different coverage patterns on the microphone. So you can have up to 4 different lobes that are happening, or 4 different coverage areas. And you can kind of see in the lower hand of the graphic there the different types of coverage patterns. We've got Omni, Cardioid, Super, Figure 8 applications. But one of the unique things is you can actually mix and match those patterns at the same time. So depending on how your table setup is, or if you've got multiple, like let's maybe say it's a longer table and I've got one on the end that I want to cover like 3 people around kind of the nose of the table, I can basically not have coverage on the center of the table to keep noise of glasses and fingers typing and stuff like that off there. This also does have a very unique pattern called a toroid pattern. So a toroid this is what's pictured in the picture here. So the toroid pattern is a donut pattern is the best way to describe it. So if you took an Omni, great thing about Omnis, it picks up everything, which could be good or could be bad, depending on what's in the room. So a lot of times maybe you've got an HVAC vent or a projector right above the conference room table that's projecting onto the screen. So the toroid pattern was invented to kind of eliminate some of those noises. So it's a donut pattern if you think about that. So it's covering outside on the table there, but there's a null point in the center. So it'll reject that sound coming from above.
Nice. And donuts are always good.
And donuts are great.
They're great at meetings, yes. So.
I would agree. So you can kind of see in some of the examples here how one mic with different types of coverage patterns can pick up those seatings. So we see the 310 a lot in kind of those small, medium conference rooms where it might be a one type microphone for that, 4 to 6, maybe 8 different people. Also on larger ones, you can put multiple microphones and they can also sync all together in your DSP. And same with like muting, you can mute all the mics at one time and do some very unique things like that.
So where are we at with the Dante pull? Are we?
Yeah, did we get the pull back? Extremely. Everyone knows. Everyone knows about Dante, so that's good.
All right.
So I got another question for the poll then. Who's, oh, wait, Dante certified. So we got
64% are no, 24% yes. Well,
all right.
Planning on it soon, 12%. Awesome.
Well, that's cool. Yeah. So get your Dante training. It's all done online, level 1 and 2. So very helpful.
Or 3 if you're daring enough.
If you're 3, if you're daring enough.
Or required to.
But no, it's definitely good to be Dante certified. It really,
yes,
like we were saying, so much gear is now on the Dante platform.
It's kind of a mysterious platform until you actually see it and you get that certification. Then it makes a lot more sense. Absolutely.
Yes. So kind of coming up, the next microphone that was in the lineup here was the MXA 710. So the 710 is actually a linear microphone array. So this is a little bit different of how it actually picks up. The cool thing with the MXA 710 is it can be mounted in a whole lot of different configurations. So it could be on a table, it can be up in a ceiling. It can also be mounted on a wall, like under a TV. We can do it vertically, horizontally. So it's a very flexible microphone and very sleek. It's about maybe an inch thick, so it's very very thin, very elegant, I guess I should say. And there's also kind of a fun thing I like to throw out. If you're doing it vertically and you want symmetrical, we also sell a dummy version. That's just the case. So you can kind of keep that symmetrical look on your install there.
Nice.
So this guy comes also in 3 different colors, that black, silver, and white, or aluminum.
Aluminium.
Aluminium. And it comes in 2 different sizes. So there's a 2-foot one and a 4-foot one. And what the difference is the amount of lobes that you get. So a 2-foot microphone will have 4 coverage zones, and then a 4-foot one will have 8 coverage zones.
Double it.
This one's a little bit hard to describe, so I like to use my hands and wave them around in the air. But the 710 is actually slices of that toroid pattern that we were talking about. So if you took the microphone, let's say you have the microphone, this is the microphone here, my pickup pattern is actually going around it. And then you've got the ability to adjust those kind of slices on there. So one consideration with the MXA 710 that I always like to tell people is be very cognizant of where you're putting it. So like if it's going in a ceiling, let's say, and it's not a drop ceiling where I've got a hard barrier, but an open ceiling, because the 710 picks up all around, it might pick up HVAC noise or something that you don't necessarily want. So there's a little bit more considerations of when you use the 710. And there's been some really cool people experimenting with 710s outside of the conferencing space. There's been people trying it on podiums in live applications.
Nice.
So instead of think award ceremonies where I've got a couple different people at a stand and you don't have to do the move in and talk to the microphone.
Right.
Because I've got multiple coverage patterns, I can do that.
But you'll always have those people that do that anyway, right?
Yes, everyone will always want to grab the microphone. So the 710 has all of our DSP, our IntelliMix DSP, so it'll do auto mixing and processing of the microphone. Again, all inside the box there. So,
quick question on that: is any of that change based on how you have mounted it?
That very good question. So on your patterns, if you are in a horizontal orientation, your patterns are steering left to right. But because it's that toroidal, it's going to pick up floor to ceiling. And then I can aim it over at you. So if I had, on the microphone here, I can aim a lobe at you or your position to be able to pick you up. In vertical, like when you've got it mounted to the TV like that, your patterns are going to be up and down. So depending on what you're trying to cover and how you're trying to cover things, that's going to determine the orientation that you're doing. Okay. So. And on this next slide here, you can kind of see some of the different, using the different patterns. Again, this mic tends to find its way into, again, the smaller to medium-sized conferencing spaces there. So you can see kind of with the vision of those coverage areas. Yeah. So you're not always necessarily using all of the lobes. It kind of depends on the space. Like we said, that 4-foot has 8 different coverage areas. Maybe you're only going to use 6, maybe you're only going to use 3. It kind of just depends on the environment and what you're trying to pick up, or better yet, what you're not trying to pick up, So I did see a question pop up there earlier, so we'll see what that is. Speaking of Dante.
I found out yesterday that you can do Dante training and certifications for free.
That is true.
Absolutely.
You can.
Thanks, Austin. Yes,
it's great to do it. It's excellent. Highly recommended for everyone
Absolutely
out there. If you're in the pro audio industry, you will run into Dante. So
all the time.
I always recommend it. It's kind of one of those things of I got in doing live sound mixing, and I never knew I had to be an IT guy to have microphones hooked up now, but it's definitely a good one to check into. So up next here is the MXA 920. This is kind of our flagship in the MXA line. Like we mentioned at the beginning, this originally started as the MXA 910, was our first ceiling array. And then as it developed, there were some software updates to the 910. And the 920 is just kind of that next evolution of the product. There were some changes to the software. It's easier to set up. There's actually a cool auto function that will just cover your area. We'll get into that not too deep on today's webinar, because I think one of our next webinars we're actually gonna. I'm breaking the rules. I'm sneak peeking here, but we're going to be talking about the actual control on the next webinar of like how you actually do the programming and how.
Yeah, we got to reel them in to make sure you come to the next two webinars. It's going to be fun.
Yes. So the 920, another unique thing that came in with the 920 versus the 910 was form factor. So the MXA 910 was just the square like you see on the top of the screen here that was meant to sit in a ceiling tile grid, typical conference room ceiling. You could also mount them in a couple different ways. I got a slide coming up showing some of the different mounting. But in free space, it looked a little different. If you had like an open ceiling concept, it was a square. So Shure got repeated questions asking about different form factors. And in the 920, we also released a round version. So the round version, same functionality, same microphone, just different housing. But it allows you to kind of get a different aesthetic to fit in. Because as we all know, acoustics are not the first thing that is done in the boardroom. It's always about how it looks. So
speaking of which, question.
Yeah.
You have 3 colors to choose from there.
Yes.
Multiple ways to hang it.
Yeah.
For what you're saying, for whatever look you're looking for. Can you paint these?
Yeah.
To match the decor of your conference room?
Yes, you can paint them. It's actually in the manual of how to do that. There is some disassembly required because obviously you can't just spray paint over the microphones, but you can actually disassemble the grill and take that off, take the microphone array out of it, and it gives you step-by-step instructions to be able to color match that. I've seen some pretty crazy paint integration based on what the ceiling architecture is. I saw one guy that had an artist because it was mounted inside of a cloud over a table, and it was wood grain, and they literally matched the wood grain perfectly. It's amazing what can be done to help it kind of blend into the situation.
So then you almost don't even know.
Yeah, you almost don't even see it. A lot of times, a lot of people, when it's up in the ceiling, just think it's like an HVAC vent or something like that. We've used it in a lot of different situations. I've had customers that used it. One that came to mind was I think it was a psychologist or psychology lab. It was at a training school. But they started using these because, you put a microphone in front of somebody and, people kind of clam up.
They act differently.
They act differently.
Yeah.
So
could go either way with it.
Yeah. Being able to have it up in the ceiling kind of took that out, and you didn't even really notice it. So, one of the cool features that was added in the MXA 920 was the automatic coverage technology. So what this is being able to, I've got a little bit on this slide over here. So out of the box, when you put the microphone up, it's going to be designed to cover like a 30 by 30 area. So we're getting into these larger rooms. where I've got, again, medium size, but medium to large, and then also getting into like larger, like the studio here, we're getting into a larger space that might have a lot of, I need to pick up presenters, but I also need to pick up audience. So we get this a lot in higher education, like larger pit room classrooms where there needs to be that back and forth. So you get that 30 by 30 coverage out of the box, but in the software, you can also just kind of tailor that coverage. And in automatic coverage mode, what that does is I say, I want an area over by you to pick up you. I want an area over by me. I want an area over here. And then the microphone actually uses its intelligence to be like, all right, I'm going to maybe use 2 lobes for this coverage area, 1 for this. You don't have to think about it. It kind of does it all for you. There's also some really cool things that you can do is you can create kind of like an exclusion zone. So like, maybe the door at the back of the conference room, you can actually put an area and then mute it and say, I don't ever want to actually pick up this area. So when somebody walks in or opens the door, you don't hear that on your conference call. So that's pretty cool.
Very cool. So you refer to it as a mic.
Yes.
A mic. Is it just a single mic? Or when you say lobes, are those?
Yeah, it's a microphone array.
Microphone array.
So the way that all of these microphones work, all of the arrays, there's different arrays. So there was the linear array like we were talking about on the 710. This is a little bit different. So that 710 we went back, those were the slices of the pie we were talking about, floor to ceiling coverage. The MXA 910 and then the 920 to follow, think of it as like a flashlight beam. So a flashlight beam coming out of the microphone. So the further away I get from it, the larger that beam gets. So you've got those different coverage areas. So in automatic mode, like it's got dynamic coverage areas. So it just does stuff in the background. But I can also go into like the older 710 way of doing things and say, I'm going to put one coverage area or one of those lobes in there. So actually in the microphone, there's hundreds of microphone elements to create these 8. Think of it like a shotgun microphone. It's also very similar to that. So like I've got 8 shotgun microphones that I can focus in areas in the room.
Where you want it to go.
Yeah. And the big thing with this is being able to keep pick up where you want to pick up and not pick up where you don't want to pick up is I guess the way to say it. So I can focus my coverage areas more on the seating positions, but not on the table, not on the, how many times have you ever walked into a conference room and a lot of it's glass, again, we're going back to it's the architects always win on the aesthetics and then audio is always figured out at the end. So we've been in some pretty crazy, highly reverberant rooms.
Absolutely helps them to be able to adjust it.
Yes.
To match that room, because everyone's going to be different.
Yep. So you've got the ability to have multiple ones here. So if you look at this can kind of show you just some different options of how you'd use one microphone covering 2 different, or 2 microphones kind of covering different areas. So these are pretty common kind of setups in larger conference rooms or more of a training type facility, like on the classroom presentation. I've got a microphone and I can set up that coverage area in the front, especially if you're a dynamic walker and like to pace back and forth. You can do that and still be covered without having to have like a lapel or a handheld or be tied down to a podium. But in here, you can also pick up those responses from people. And the other cool thing is you can also turn coverage areas on and off dynamically. You can save presets in the microphone. So this comes up a lot with multi-purpose rooms that can be configured in a bunch of different ways. Maybe I've got a U shape, or I've got a classroom style, or I've got this. So you can actually kind of set up different preset modes to be able to cover those different types of applications, and you can recall those with the software built into the microphone, or even recall it with like a third-party DSP and be able to do that. So, nice. Definitely, that's one thing, especially as you're getting into the MicroFlex, is reaching out, talking with the salespeople about being able to help design a system for you. So if you're ever wondering, heck, how do I, what do I need in this room? It's always good. We can set up a call with the salespeople and help design a system for you, and also even do a demo of the product, because really, it's one of those things of how does it sound on the far end?
Right.
So.
Anything that is made to be super flexible like that,
Yep.
to adjust, it's important that you understand it really very well.
Yeah, definitely.
Or at least have somebody that you can lean on.
Yep.
Like us here at Full Compass. Right?
Exactly, and that's kind of why we wanted to do this, like the 3-part webinar of kind of get in a little bit more and kind of teach some of the other things. There's also classes, that you can do online through the Shure SAI Institute. I think I've got a slide a little bit later on that, talking about some of the certifications and things that you can do online.
Yeah, we've all of us here have, all of our sales team, myself included, in the tech team.
Yep.
All of us have gone through multitude of trainings on this.
So another very cool thing that the MXA 920 does is it allows you to work with video systems for camera tracking. So this is something that's becoming more and more popular nowadays. I've got multiple camera setups in a room, especially if you're getting into a larger boardroom or training room type application. So the cool thing with the MXA 920 is it actually, in its API, can spit out those coordinate informations to be funneled into a DSP or a camera controller. So they partner up with a lot of different companies that have camera tracking, like Aver makes one Beyond, several different companies can take that information from the MXAs, the 920s, and turn that into a coordinate. So it actually gives you an X, Y, and Z coordinate. So
that's really cool. That's
guide that.
So the camera will sweep whoever's talking. It's going to send out that control information.
Correct. So it's activating under the auto mix. It knows, oh, I'm being picked up in this area, so it can output that to the camera and tell the camera system that I need to pick up a person over in this area. So that's a very unique feature to the microphone. And it's something that they're kind of continually tweaking and developing. There was actually just some updates made to this recent firmware. So it was just kind of developed a little bit more to be a little more accurate and kind of...
and updates are always free.
Updates are always free. So very, very cool there. Another one that is very interesting use for the MXA 920 is voice lift. So are you familiar with voice lift? We get that question a lot.
But you got to explain everything.
I got to explain everything. So voice lift, on the slide here, we've got like what is voice lift versus what is sound reinforcement. So sound reinforcement typically in a room is I'm a presenter, I'm mic'd up, I'm coming out of a PA, I'm addressing many people. Voice lift is intended to be many to many. So I'll talk about the Shure CEC, their showroom in downtown Chicago here. They have a training room that's in there. It's off the top of my head, can't remember. Got a couple MXA 920s in there and several speakers to be able to cover the space. But what the microphone will do is it'll pick me up as a presenter, and using different delays of speaker will bring my voice up throughout those different speakers. So the further away I am from the presenter, like back of the room, it's going to be coming out louder out of that speaker than I am out of the front of the room to kind of mimic the environment. Same with at the Shure CEC, they've got it set up that if I'm on the left, it's kind of a rectangular room. If I'm on the left-hand side of the room, I'll come out of the right-hand speaker. So I don't have to yell to address other people in the class. I'm just naturally lifted. And the one cool thing with voice lift, it's typically one of those things, it's kind of like sound masking. If a sound masking system is done right, you don't really ever notice it until it's turned off. And that's one thing that a good sound or voice lift system does, is it just helps elevate a little bit to overcome
the whole room.
Yeah.
Right out.
So yeah, we do this technology voice lift, like our MXCW, which is our conferencing and discussion system, has a little reinforcement speaker or a voice lift speaker right in front of each person. So it just slightly elevates everyone in the space. It's kind of a fun one to experience, but with ceiling microphone arrays, typically they don't behave well in this application. It's easy to get feedback and everything when you're adjusting those. So that's kind of another one of the more unique things that the MXA can do is be used in those voice lift applications in that training room space. But also, I'm still using that audio to go out to a far end. So if I've got remote participants, it's still picking up everyone that's in the room. It's also picking up the presenter, but it's also helping lift that speech in the room. So it's a very unique thing. And again, we can kind of help design those systems. And there's some white papers and stuff on the Shure website that we can get over to people that are interested in those systems. So. Kind of getting up into our mounting, this is showing the square unit here. So you can drop it in a ceiling. There's below a hard pan ceiling, there's actually like a mount for if you're in a drywall ceiling, you can cut it in. It almost looks like a fluorescent light fixture housing. So the microphone goes in there and it snaps back up. But you can also suspend them. There's a cable suspension mount. So if you're in open space, you can also mount it on a pole, schedule 40 pole, or like a projector mount was also pretty common. And then there's threaded rod adaptation now too. So the threaded rod application was requested by a lot of users, so they added that in the 920.
So it comes with the suspension kit.
Yes, it comes with the suspension kit. Actually, I take that back. I think that is an accessory now.
It is.
Yes, but all the mounting points and everything that are in there are included.
All ready to roll.
Yeah, all ready to roll. So the suspension kit comes with 4 aircraft cables and these little things called gripples, so you can adjust. And,
what are they called?
Add that. A gripple.
A gripple.
A gripple.
You learn something new
I think that's
day.
Trademarked. I'm pretty sure. So I think that is a brand. But
gripple.
The gripple.
It's a good one to say too, like aglet.
It is kind of fun.
You know what an aglet is?
Gripple. An aglet. Yes, that's the part of your shoelace. See, I know everything. I know a lot of
geeks will know.
Oh, a lot of useless information. So, well, I didn't actually show it on here, but all of these mounting type situations, the threaded rod, the pole mounting, all of that's available for the round MXA also. When you're doing the pole mount and the threaded rod mount on the ceiling microphones, kind of gives it a nice tapered look. There's more of a trim ring to it since it's typically going to be opened in open space and kind of fits in more with like lighting fixtures and things like that. So a little bit of a difference there. So, but the next one we come up on is
902.
The MXA 902. So this one is relatively new. So this is also a ceiling array, as you can see here. But a little bit of a difference to it is that it's a little bit smaller of a coverage area. So the MXA 902 is designed to, out of the box, do a 20 by 20 coverage area. So this is more a hang it and go type situation, medium-sized conference room to cover that kind of, again, the 20 by 20 area. But what's very unique about the MXA 902 is you can kind of see in the exploded diagram here, it also has a speaker built into it. So in that small to medium-sized conference room, I don't have to worry about putting in additional speakers and all of that. It's all done inside the microphone. So it's got the processing, it's got echo cancellation, it's got all of my DSP, EQ functionality, just like all the other microphones do. But then it's also got that audio coming back out. So this one is a little bit different in that it does require PoE Plus to be powered. So I guess I didn't really mention this before, but all of them, we mentioned are a network connection running over Dante, but they're all PoE powered. Okay. So it's getting power from the network switch. So MXA 902, because it does have that audio driver in there, you need to have PoE Plus to do that. So with the 902, because we get this a lot of the differences between 902 and 920, like when would you choose some? The 902 is that 20 by 20 coverage area. I can't do those automatic zones and exclusion zones and things like that. It's more about, here's my coverage area, that's that 20 by 20. Now I can move that coverage area around to adjust for the room. So a lot of times when you're mounting a microphone, choosing where it's going to go in the room.
It's not necessarily dead center.
It's not necessarily dead
So,
center,
got
because
it.
you have to realize with physics, kind of going back to my example before of my spotlight, my flashlight shining from the ceiling. I might be, depending on where the microphone is, aiming at the back of somebody's head. You know, if they're looking at a display on the wall over there, they might be turned, and if I have the microphone back here, it's picking up the back of my head. You'll still be in a pickup area or pickup zone, and you'll still be heard, but your intelligibility will go down because you're not a direct
Right.
sound source. So with all of these microphones, that's why we, again, reach out to us to help with kind of these designs. But a lot of times in conference rooms, you'll justify the microphone more towards the display, especially if it is a predominantly, well, that's a hard word to say, video conferencing room. You know, so a lot of times you're facing the display, so you're going to justify that mic towards the display physically, but then I can steer my zone back out in the room to cover that conference room table that might be in the middle of the room. Another common one for being able to adjust those patterns is maybe where it needs to go in the room is off center, you know, because of the way that the ceiling grid was put into the room, you know. So it doesn't necessarily have to be like dead center ideal. Looks better that way, but you've got that flexibility to kind of move things around in that conferencing space.
That's great.
So the 902, again, we're going to get back into that 20 by 20 room. You can kind of see a little bit of the back here. It looks very similar. All of the same mounting infrastructure that was in the 920 works for the 902. This one only comes in white. Same with the 920. In the square version, it's only white option, but again, paintable like we talked about earlier. So some disassembly required, but you can kind of see the mounting points for the those threaded rod and the pole inserts, and then on the corners here, you've got your suspension mounts, and then you also see that speaker over there. So again, we mentioned onboard IntelliMix DSP, so it's doing all that echo cancellation and everything all on board the microphone. So there's not necessarily a need for an external DSP. You just need to be able to get that Dante signal into your computer. So we've got a couple different ways of doing that. Depending, you know, if you've got an in-room PC, you could put Dante Virtual Sound Card on your PC and go directly in there via the network. Or you could use like our ANI USB. That's a Dante to a USB breakout to like plug directly into a computer, and it just shows up as a USB microphone. So
Looks like we got a question here.
yeah.
From Jacob. Does Shure offer any easy way to mute these units?
Yeah, so it's
obviously up on the ceiling. You're
not
going to.
Yeah, it's very hard to mute up there. So we do make an accessory. I can't remember if we've got it in the PowerPoint here. That's part of the MXA line. That's an MXA mute button. So it's a network device that is communicating back to the microphone that allows you to mute. Cool thing about that device, you can actually have multiples of them on the table at one time.
Mount them right on your
so
conference table.
If you're on a very long, you know, kind of conference room table, I can have one in the end, one in the center, you know. So we get this a lot. You know, presentations, higher education, something like maybe I want to mute the mic before we go live. You know, you can do that. There is, it's a little hard to see. There's a little LED indicator on there up by the Shure logo. It's a little hard to see on the display there.
Yeah,
we can see a little bit better here.
Yes.
So that's a customizable LED. So there's crazy amount, hundreds, thousands of different color choices that you can choose from in there. So you can match your corporate logo, but it's got a couple different states. So you can either have it when it's on air, it's one color, like when you're unmuted and when you're muted. So obviously the typical red and green are the standards outside of the box. Or you can also just have it, if the microphone is off or muted, maybe the light isn't even on. So it kind of depends on what you're wanting to do. Customizable.
Of course, I know what color we have ours set for.
Yes. Purple.
Purple. Of course.
Exactly. Right? Got to have the purple. So This next slide here kind of shows that coverage room. So this is showing our MXA software. So we've got a newer software, actually. This is a picture of the old one. We just released an update to our designer software that's going to be talked about on the next episode. But the designer software just got updated to version 6.0.
Did you hear that? The next episode.
The next episode. So the cool thing about the designer software, it's a free software that allows you to go in and design these rooms offline. And so you can look at your coverage, you can import a floor plan, kind of do all of your design in there, and then save it as a file. So when you go out on the job site and you do have live microphones, you can kind of push all those settings to there.
Which we will go more in depth in the next episode.
Exactly, in the next episode. So
gotta keep plugging.
Sorry, I gotta keep it plugging. So, but you can kind of see in here, we were talking about that coverage zone. So up here in the little box, you've got your 20 by 20 coverage area, and I can move that 4 feet in any direction.
I was going to ask that. Yeah. Yep. So you have 4 foot shift.
Correct. Yes.
In any direction.
Yep. And that's
more than enough.
Oh yeah. And that's similar to what the autofocus technology was doing. We kind of touched on that earlier. That was added into the 910, and that's also in the 920. It allows you to kind of move around and lean back in the chair, so the coverage will automatically follow you there. So.
We get a lot of movers in conferencing, right?
Yes, you do. Another thing that's built into there, so the system, again, having that microphone built into there, it's kind of that all-in-one type situation. So the loudspeaker is automatically the AEC reference, so you don't have to worry about kind of wiring that up and making those connections and make sure you're at the right point, pick-off point for your echo reference. So it also has the ability, it has a 4-band parametric EQ. To do that, and there's also a built-in signal generator, which is actually really kind of cool. So you can do which is commonly referred to as the buzz and rub test. So I can actually put a signal generator in there and turn up the volume and see if, like, the ceiling's rattling or anything like that, if I need to tighten anything up and test everything. So it's kind of got everything that you need in there. So and then you've obviously got volume control that can be adjusted from the output of that. So
nice. How are we doing with questions? Any other questions that we've got built up? Feel free to pop in here, people, and ask those as we go along here. Oh, you know what? Is this the last one?
This is the this is the last one of the microphones, but we got some DSPs and stuff to do.
We do. Okay, yeah. We'll do this last mic, and then we're gonna push a poll out.
We got another poll
that you don't know about.
All right. So, okay. All right. So the 901, we mentioned this was the newest microphone that just got released at the ISE trade show in Barcelona about a month ago. So kind of broadcast and launched there.
And you were there.
I was there. It was a very fun trade show. It was my first time to Barcelona and first time to that trade show. So so the MXA 901 is also a round ceiling array, but it's a little bit smaller than the MXA 920 round. This is the same microphone pattern and microphone design that's in the 902, just without the speaker. So if you are getting into a room that I need multiple microphones, because the 902 is designed to be a single mic, single speaker type solution. So again, that small to medium-sized conference room. But maybe I'm getting into a larger space, or I need to have some more coverage area. That's where the 901 comes in, because I can actually do more. Put more of them in the space there.
So we have a question.
Yeah.
Does Full Compass offer training in these products? And do I have to be trained to purchase?
So yeah, so there are some requirements to purchase the MXA product of being certified. So
we offer training, but it's only in-house to our people. However, the Shure Audio Institute.
Yeah, the Shure SAI Institute, which the Shure Audio Institute, SAI, allows you to do all the trainings online. Also, Shure does host a lot of MXA trainings throughout the United States, well, everywhere, globally. But there are some in-person ones sometimes also if you want to get your hands on one and be able to check it out and do it in person. But you can do everything on the Training Institute. So to purchase the MXA, there is the requirement that you are certified. And we can kind of touch on a little bit of that later on in the slides here to show you how you do that. And you can get in touch with the salesperson. It's a fairly easy process. Normally it's on the website. You watch some videos, take a couple quizzes.
And that allows you then you'll get the best bang for your buck.
Exactly.
You'll be able to use it.
Learn all the tips and tricks.
Yes.
So, I got to pick up the pace here. So the 901, you can kind of see how the mounting is. It's a little bit smaller. It's about yay big. You know,
That's nice.
About
I like that.
12 inches or so design. So in this, you can see I can have a one-room coverage, a single coverage, but I could also get into a larger type situation where the upper one has a couple of the 901s to cover a larger area. Maybe I'm in a medium size or a medium to large conference room. And then this also has all the kind of similar mounting options that you've got from the 920. So pole mount, threaded rod, recessed into the ceiling like a hard trim ring, or it can be suspended just out in the air there. So this is one, we'll probably email this out. So this is actually a really kind of cool little chart that helps you kind of guide when you want to use which microphone and what they do, coverage areas, what are the outputs, all that different options there. So this is something that we can post up. Maybe we'll throw this on the MXA landing page on the website.
There you go.
It'll probably be helpful. So you can kind of see it in a nice grid there of what everything is doing. So. But next up, MXA. Oh, go ahead. You got a poll.
Oh, we do have a poll.
You do have a poll.
So, Shawn, when we've done webinars, we have people that, this is live, right? So we have people that are asking questions quite often.
Yes.
And every now and then they make comments, and they've commented on us having beards.
Yes.
So the poll we have today, just for fun, it's a beard battle.
Oh, beard battle.
All right, so we got to find out who has the best beard.
It's obviously
we're polling the audience. Well, I don't know.
That's true. You do. You can kind of strike you like the evil genius.
Yes, all in one. I can. So we're gonna find that out. So go ahead.
Cool. Well, let's jump into some DSP. So, like I was gonna say, the MXA series isn't just the microphones. I mean, a lot of our microphones have processing and everything on there, like I said, for those all-in-one solutions. But sometimes you do need more processing. So we've got a couple different options from there. We've got our P3. Oops. Oh no. I botched it. We've got our P300. So this is our audio conferencing processor. So the P300, this is a hardware DSP that allows you. So in the case where maybe I've got a couple MXA 901s in a room or 920s, and I've got a larger space, and I need to control all those signals and aggregate it down. So the P300 allows me to do that in there. So it's got 8 channels of echo cancellation. So depending on how you've got your system set up, I could take 8 individual feeds from like an MXA 920 if I'm not in automatic coverage mode, or if I am in automatic coverage mode, I can take up to 8 different microphones aggregated into one larger system there. So you can kind of look at some of the inputs and outputs on there. So obviously it's Dante, so that's PoE plus powered. So it's getting all of those signals digitally. And then it also has USB interface. So this is to be able to plug bring your own device, come in, I plug my laptop in, and it shows me just choose the USB as my input and my output device, and that allows me to communicate with the system. Even if it's 5 microphones in the room, let's say, it just shows up as one audio device. Yep. So it makes it very easy. And there's also some analog input and output on the back of the unit also. So if you need to bring in traditional microphones or tie into more of a traditional type of PA.
Or a mobile device.
Or a mobile device, yeah. So there's also a TRRS jack, so you can plug in your phone directly there and join a call from your phone. So it's kind of a unique little feature there.
Nice.
We also have our IMX rooms. So this is kind of the next evolution in the DSP. We talked the P300 was a hardware DSP, 8 channels of echo cancellation. So a lot of people were asking, hey, can I get more processing? So IMX Room is basically the software and the brains of a P300, but it's a software application. So this lives on a PC that's in your room. So typically a lot of people will have an in-room PC that's hosting all those meetings and things like that. So the IntelliMX Room allows me to have that DSP riding on there. It also can be riding on things like an MTR. So like Crestron or Logitech have those devices that are hosting the meetings. I can walk in and join my Zoom. A lot of those are PC backbone or a Windows backbone. So the IMX software can be loaded onto that unit and do all of your audio processing in the computer that you're doing. So you can save on the hardware piece, get a software piece. This next screen kind of shows some of the auto mixer, all the parametric EQ, noise reduction, all of the things that you would need from a conferencing standpoint in there. What is very cool about the IMX Room is it also comes in either 8 or 16 channel options. So if you're getting into a larger space and you need more processing, you can do up to 16 channels of echo cancellation in there. So this is a very unique software. It also has some very cool features in there, one of those being a denoiser. So the AI denoiser actually removes a lot of the background noise. It's kind of a crazy demo. Check out the website for this. There's a demo on there. But the people crinkling the chip bags or clicking the pen or typing on the keyboard, it intelligently knows to listen for those sounds, and it actually pulls it out from the conference going to the far end. So it's pretty magical. So
I need a set of earbuds that do that.
That denoise everything.
The crinkling bag of chips.
Yes. So we also talked about our anti-USB earlier. So we can go directly to from the microphone using the processing of the microphone out to the anti-USB. That's basically just converting Dante to USB interface. So if I'm doing something like the MXA 902, that simple room situation, I've already got my speaker in there, I've got my microphone array, I throw an anti-USB on there, I plug my computer in there, tune, and I'm done. So it's a very simple, easy to deploy system.
Nice.
Couple network cables. This also does have some analog in and out that you can kind of get onto the backbone. So if you're interfacing with maybe a codec or something like that, you've got that capability there.
And there's training on all of this.
Yes.
Every one of these units that you see that we're showing here on the Shure Audio Institute.
So we've got a little comparison chart. We'll also throw this up on the website to show kind of when you might want to choose a USB, the hardware P300, or the IntelliMix Room. You've got those options there. I did see a question pop up about
let's see that.
Certified. So I will get to that. I do have a slide. I do have a slide. We've got the MXN 5W. So this is our network powered loudspeaker. So these are PoE plus speakers. Wow, I lost my train of thought there for a moment. Ceiling speakers. So intended for conference room reinforcement. But the cool thing about this is it's all Dante backbone again. So I'm just plugging into that network switch. And in the software, I make all my connections. That's, again, we'll get into that in the next episode of more of what is actually going on in the software there. But this is a great way to add more audio to those spaces if you need to get into a larger room for something that maybe like, again, the 902 has that built-in speaker for that medium-sized space. But if I'm getting into a larger type room, I'm going to need more speakers. So up to the question next. Technology partners. So we are partnered with Microsoft Teams. So all of the products are Teams certified, Zoom certified, Google Meet. There are some different options there. If you're going through things like the P300 synced up to like an MXA 920 or things like that, you also have certain features like mute sync. So when I mute the microphone or I mute in the Zoom software, it actually talks back to the microphone and mutes the microphone and back and forth. So there's that control aspect there. All of the products though are Teams, Zoom, and Google Meet certified. And then we also have some other partners with Cisco and QAssist, and then also Barco's, like ClickShare. You guys do a lot of those, so you can actually connect your MXA microphone through a Barco ClickShare wirelessly to your computer. So that's kind of a really cool, cool functionality there. So definitely, if you are looking for something, if you're a Teams house or a Zoom house and you need to be certified, that's great. And really what that certifying does, because I know we had talked about this before, of what does it mean to be a certified partner. So when I plug in a USB microphone, let's say to a Zoom meeting, it's going to look and see, is this a certified device or is this not a certified device? If it's not a certified device, what happens is it then says Zoom is like, I'm going to use my processing. I'm going to use my echo cancellation, my noise reduction, my algorithm that is built into the software. But when you are a certified device, or sometimes it's a whitelisted device, it knows, hey, I'm talking to a MXA system. I know this is an approved device. So what it does is it actually turns off the processing in the software and allows you to use the processing that's on the microphone that is generally probably a more sophisticated echo cancellation algorithms and meant to deal with larger environments. Typically, the software codecs are more simple single mic type deployments. And
they play nice together.
They play nice together. So that's the best thing. If you've ever been on a call and you plug in a microphone that's not certified, sometimes you can get that double echo cancellation because maybe the mic is doing echo cancellation and Zoom is also doing
you
it.
get some
So
artifacts that pop in.
Artifacts, or sometimes the audio will drop out, things like that. So that's why you always really do want to strive for a certified device like the MXA product when you're in that type of environment.
Got it.
So we did talk about training. So the training and certification. So these are all the different trainings. We've actually set up a code that I really should have remembered to write this down before we talked about it. But we've got this set up that when you log in to the SAI, so you can reach out to your salesperson, reach out to us, send a question in, we can get a link to you guys. But we actually created a group that you can plug in when you sign up for the SAI, type in the group code, and it'll actually put all of the different classes for all of the different MXA products all in an easy place to find, because the SAI, the Training Institute, covers everything from wireless mics to ceiling speakers to MXA. So there's a lot of different trainings that you can do on there. So it funnels it down and makes it easier for you.
Oh, nice. So if you're watching live and you want that code, you can email us at fullaccess at fullcompass.com.
Fullaccess at fullcompass.
Fullaccess at fullcompass.com, or if you're watching the recorded version, either one.
All right, excellent. So that brings us to the conclusion.
Questions?
I guess, do we have any questions out there in the wide world? Do you have any questions?
So Dante, I know, so I'm level 3 Dante certified. I very quickly realized the advantages of Dante. Could you explain kind of what's important about this, or a big advantage of having this going through Dante?
The Dante backbone, we talked about this at the beginning, it's a network audio transport. But the cool thing about Dante is it allows you to use standard Ethernet network switches that are approved, and allows you to route signals over large areas. So, a lot of larger campuses and things like that might have multiple microphones that are in a space that are all going back to a centrally located DSP. So, Dante allows you to route those signals very easily. The other cool thing about Dante that I like is I can actually route those signals in multiple locations. So I can maybe be sending something to my DSP, but I could also be sending that same signal to maybe a computer that's doing archival, that's just recording the raw audio without it being processed.
So on a campus, I could send the audio from the conference that's going on there over to a whole...
Oh, yeah. So like lecture capture or something like that. I can take the output and send it over to the lecture capture, but it's also going to the whatever, if I'm using Teams or something like that. So it's a very flexible protocol, I guess I would say.
And it works nicely with for IT people.
Yes.
Right? You can put that on the regular...
you can put it on the regular network. A lot of IT people understand, how the packets and everything is transported. So
level 3 Dante will.
Level 3 gets pretty heady. It's to get it in there. So I see we got a couple more questions. So.
All right.
Wait. First off, who won the beard poll?
Oh yeah.
We should go back to that.
We got to see that the beard poll.
Oh, see, I won.
Oh,
yes. The funny thing is my nickname is Redbeard, so cheers.
Cheers, brother.
I won.
I accept defeat
Yes.
gracefully.
So we've got a question of, do you have these products in stock? Yes, you guys are actually fully stocked with all the different products, all the different colors, and easy
Contact
to get,
your salesperson.
Yep.
If you don't have a salesperson, just call the 800 number and we'll get you set up with somebody. Absolutely. Camera feed.
So question was mentioning microphone being able to do automatic camera feed. What is DSP or room systems that can use this feature? So this is ever changing, but I know like some of the ones off the top of my head, like I mentioned, was Aver has a box that allows you to control all of multiple Aver cameras and do the feed there. One Beyond, which is actually now owned by Crestron, that is a system that does that. There's several other DSPs and functionalities that you can do and use those coordinates. There's a couple different ways, like several different ones have plugins that are available. Previous to this, we also had XY coordinates that you could do with a more traditional setup where I've created camera presets in a DSP that I just have like 6 spots around the room, let's say. And off those coordinates, I can be like, hey, just go to this preset, you know. So it's pretty universal. The functionalities in the API, so it allows you to kind of just get that data and do what you will with it, depending on how you want to interpret that data. But those are just some. Check out the Shure website because it's kind of always one of those constant evolving ones with the Shure partnerships of working with those different camera manufacturers. So.
Excellent. Is that all the questions we have? I believe.
I think that is all.
Let's
the questions.
talk about the next 2 upcoming webinars, parts 2 and 3.
Part 2 and 3. So. Part 2, we're going to actually spend a lot more time on the design aspect of the product. So the designer software and how we would go through and design a room and look at some different options.
Taking it right from where, okay, this is my room, where do I start? What do I pick?
Yeah, exactly. So talking about a lot of that, of how you choose the microphone. And we're going to do a really cool thing. We're actually doing this in your building. So we've got a conference room in the building that we are working on a design for, and we're going to show you how we're going to design for that room, what we would put in there, and eventually in part three, we're going to do the webinar from that space, and instead of using the traditional wireless mics and stuff, we're actually going to do the webinar from the MXA microphone. So
do it through that, and we'll show you parts of the install that we did. We're going to do you and I and a couple other guys. We're going to be up there installing. We're going to have some video shots of the install itself. So it'll be very, very helpful for you to see it live. It's always, you know, whenever I do anything, I always look up videos on how people are doing it already. That visual is so helpful. So we're going to have, that's part 3 for us coming up.
Awesome. We got another question, I see.
Can we combine with other MicroFlex systems like MicroFlex Complete and MicroFlex Wireless systems?
Yeah, so this is where you would get into wanting to use the software DSP and be able to bring in multiple systems. Another new product that was released at IFC that we didn't really talk about on here, but as part of the MXW, which is the MicroFlex Wireless system, we came out with a new product called the MXW Next 2, which is a 2-channel system, the Next 2, but it has some of the P300 DSP, the IntelliMix DSP functionality in there. And that was designed, so that's a traditional wireless system for conferencing spaces as a 2-channel system, but it also has Dante input, so you can do like a 901, let's say, in the room that's picking up the boardroom, but maybe I still want a presenter on a traditional system. So typically when you want to mix and match, that's when you're going to use those DSPs, so you've got the ability to do echo cancellation and processing of things that might not necessarily have it on the microphone like the MXAs do. So it is very flexible, and that's another joy of doing Dante. You can bring a lot of different things together.
Yeah, nice. Well, I think we are just over the hour, so I think maybe we'll wrap things up. What do you think?
Awesome.
I think we're good. All right, I'm looking forward to the next webinars together.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on there. It's fun to talk, and thank you for asking questions, and thank you for voting me best beard. I think I'll wear like I think I should get a medal or something.
Maybe we'll we'll put the poll out on the next the next one as well. I'm going to keep trying.
Yeah.
No matter what.
We'll
All
see.
right. So again, if you have any questions beyond this, feel free to email fullaccess@fullcompass.com. That goes directly to a specific box for the webinars, and I have access to that. If I don't know the answers or my team doesn't know the answers, we will reach out to Shawn.
Awesome.
The next expert, and who also is connected directly with Shure.
Yes.
In many, many ways. So appreciate all of you here being with us live today, and all of you watching later on. And thank you, Shawn.
Thank you.
And thanks everybody for joining. That's it for today, folks. Take care.